And I can tell you, and I'm not just saying this, that this here car is the single most sensational thing on wheels since the turbo.
Wow.
The stakes are higher because stealing from Sam Quint is the biggest mistake you can make. Now he's going in. After her, after them, after the Black Moon. Tommy Lee Jones. Black Moon Rising.
This movie is called Black Moon Rising. We learned that the car is called Black Moon. The Black Moon car does not get a lot of action. At minute 26 and 19 seconds, this is when the Black Moon is parked in the back of that semi-trailer, and then it sits there dormant until 1 hour, 26 minutes, 19 seconds. So exactly 1 hour of on-screen time. So then at hour, 28 minutes, and 30 seconds, it gets stuck in an elevator. And then it's brought up to the top floor, and it drives around the room for literally 7 seconds.
Now, do you think that the Black Moon Rising, because the only time it rises is when it's on this freight elevator? Do you think this is the moment of the movie where Black Moon Rising comes in? Because at no point does it rise.
No, I think you're right. I think the only time the Black Moon is rising is when it's going up the elevator.
They really should have taken this opportunity to put into the script. Where are they? They're in the Black Moon. They're rising. Something like that.
Give us a cheeky title in the dialogue line.
No, not this way! What? Freight elevator!
You just blew this movie wide open.
You tried to blow it?
That thing's not in the blueprint!
Oh yeah, what's poppin', corn dogs? We are back. Just play it. It's here. I'm here. Nick is here. I am Jimmy Crack Corn, Captain Pop, Captain Crunch, Mr. Microwave, and I'm gonna corn my dog because my dog's here. He's with me. I'm James, and that's Nick.
I am that aforementioned Nick. I am the dog that is getting corned. I'm the corn. I'm the dog. I'm the dog. Corn, dog. It's a little bit of A, a little bit of B, but it always comes out the same. It's the corn dog here to entertain you for another week of movies, James.
Just a couple guys looking like a couple of snacks. Although you can't see us because we're on the pod.
However, James, our beautiful listeners can see us if they follow us on our social media accounts where you put together awesome visual promos for our episodes.
Yeah, why are we not shouting that out in the beginning?
By the time people turn it off, that's when we're shouting it out.
Which is after 15 seconds.
Let's knock it out at the top here.
You take it away, Nick.
Well, you can follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Just Play It Podcast, and follow us on X at Just Play It Pod. Interact. Tell us what you think.
What's going on over on X?
More so than any other social media platform, it's a bunch of people yelling into the void. It's a sight to see.
Out of the socials that we have, X is the neglected middle child. Just like Nick.
There it is. But we plug along anyway.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We're watching the movie Black Moon Rising from 1986. Nick, a classic question. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I have not, and I don't believe 98% of the population has either.
Which is weird because there is some high-profile names attached to it.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that, but first, we got to warm up with our quiz. If you're new to the show, or if it's the first time you're hearing about Cinematrix, what it is, it's a 3x3 grid. We are given a combination of actors or descriptions / categories, and we need to match up a horizontal row versus the vertical row with movie titles. And we cannot use the same movie twice. And the more obscure the movie is, the higher points we'll get. Sound simple?
Sounds simple.
So let's play. Nick, do you want to read what we have on the horizontal line?
Top row of the grid, we have Oscar-nominated Best Picture, actress Anne Hathaway.
Actor. It says actor.
Johnny Depp.
It says actor.
Sometimes it says actress. It can't make up its mind.
Well, if you don't get that inside joke, you should go back and listen to our Oscar special and be a true fan. Thank you very much.
So to recap, we have Oscar nom, Best Picture, Anne Hathaway, and Johnny Depp. James, what do we got going down the vertical line here?
Along the vertical line, we have Helena Bonham Carter, a composer. This is the first time I've seen a composer in the mix. Hans Zimmer.
Oh, yeah.
And character name and title. We are going to take our best stabs at naming the most obscure movies that can match up with our horizontal row and our vertical row here. And we invite you to play along. So if you want to try and think about it, you have the privilege to pause this episode. We are just going for it. Nick, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, where do you want to
Where do you
start?
want to start?
Oh, I need to Google Helena? Helena?
Helena Bonham Carter.
Without looking at the movies.
I know who she is.
Oh, yeah. I know she is. Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know her by name. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Harry Potter fans. Okay, where do you want to start?
What's Calling My Name is a movie. It's one of my favorites. It's from probably my favorite movie trilogy of all time. I want to start in the middle. I want to start Anne Hathaway, composer Hans Zimmer, and I'm going to go with The Dark Knight Rises.
Let's punch this in and see what we get. Okay, 43%.
Oh, 43.
A lot of people, obviously, that's a given. It's a very popular modern
Yeah.
movie, so no worries there. We got plenty of stuff to work with here. So Hans Zimmer, we got Oscar-nominated Best Picture. Was Dark Knight nominated? Was that nominated for Best Picture?
I don't know if it was. It should have been. It should have been.
And I need to point out that this is not Oscar-nominated movie for any category. This is specifically Best Picture.
Correct.
Oh boy, was it?
I feel like it was after Heath Ledger passed. I
feel like it
got
was.
more love. I'm ready to go for it.
Are we going for it? Okay, so we're gonna guess The Dark Knight for Oscar-nominated Best Picture and composer Hans Zimmer.
Ready?
Ready?
Oh,
That's tough. That's tough.
tells you how bad the Academy is. Well, let's move on. Let's get a quick win. Which Pirates of the Caribbean do you want to go with?
Hans Zimmer did all of them.
He did all of them.
Just go for like.
Well, the original three I know. Whatever they were doing afterwards.
He probably did that.
I don't know.
But I think
But we have Curse
I
of
think
the
we
Black
should do one
Pearl,
of the original three.
World's End, and Stranger's Tide. I'm thinking Stranger Tides. It's the lowest one listed when you type in pirates. It's the last one listed, so it might be the
Okay.
last one people go for.
Let's go for Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides for Hans Zimmer and Johnny Depp.
Let's go.
Guess. 6%.
6%.
That's a nice
good one.
juicy
we needed that.
low number. I love it.
We needed that. Okay, let's tackle Helena Bonham Carter because I actually have two. I have one for Anne Hathaway and I have one for Johnny Depp.
Which one would you like, sir?
Let's go after Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp and
She's in a movie.
Helena Bonham Carter. Helena?
She's in
Helena?
a movie.
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't definitively say one way or the other, but she's in a movie that I do enjoy. I feel it got not as much love at the time as when Johnny Depp was in a bit of his weird phase-ish. This would be Sweeney Todd.
Was she in Edward Scissorhands?
I can't recall. I mean, I think Edward Scissorhands is a great choice for character name and title.
I think Sweeney Todd is a better choice. So there's the Tale of Sweeney Todd and then Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Which one is it?
I believe it was the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Are you sure?
I'm ready.
Yes. A very
61%.
very popular answer, but correct at the end of the day. I
Yes.
like it. Way to get back in the W column. What's your Anne Hathaway one for Mrs. Bonham Carter?
This is one I've seen with many females in my life. This is Les Miserables. Les Miserables.
Oh.
I don't quite know, but Les Mis.
Les Miserables.
Now, this could be Helena's Oscar nom as well. I'm pretty sure
Was
this
that
got a
Best Picture?
Oscar nom. I feel like this feels like an Academy darling, doesn't it?
I feel like, yeah. But can you think of another Anne Hathaway Bonham Carter joint?
I honestly cannot.
Let's go for that. Let's go for Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
So Les Miserables.
Les Miserables. I'm hitting it.
43%. Let's go.
We take those.
I'm looking at Hans Zimmer and I'm looking at Oscar nominated Best Picture again.
I know he has to have multiple, right?
Yeah. I know he did the Superman movies, right? I just don't know if those were nominated.
He did Gladiator.
Oh, well then Gladiator.
Was Gladiator? Yeah, Gladiator was, right?
Yeah, no, punch that in.
All right, then Gladiator it is.
I'm confident. Let's do it.
Okay. 19%. You love to see
Just needed
that.
you to dig that out of the database and for me to just push you off the edge and hope that you landed in a foam pit instead of a spike trap. Way to go.
Appreciate it.
I'm liking our character name in the title row because I feel like that one should be pretty easy.
Yep.
Because let's just go Johnny Depp and character name, a movie we shouted out earlier of Edward Scissorhands.
Should we go a little more
Are you trying to get cheeky with
obscure? I am.
it? Like
Because Johnny
Charlie
Depp
and
also...
the Chocolate Factory? or
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory could be one. He was also in the live-action Alice in Wonderlands.
something? I like that.
I'm looking at it right now for what pops up when you guess.
Yes,
I
me
believe
too.
it was Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Oh God, are you sure?
He was also, I believe, in the sequel Through the Looking Glass.
Oh, let's just go with
Which
that
would be
one.
even-
Let's just
No,
go
but
with
that doesn't
one.
have the character name in the title, I don't think. Does it?
Alice.
Is it
called
called
Alice
Alice Through the Looking Glass? I feel comfortable with that one.
Hit it. Oh my God!
It's the 1%.
1%. Dog.
It's the 1%, baby.
Dude, our glow up right now from the first time we did this is popping the hell off, man. I can't believe it. That was sick.
That feels good.
That was nice.
Okay.
Can't get any better than that.
Now we could go character name and title.
I'm sticking on this one. You know why? Because we lost a guess, so I feel like we're just not gonna get the Oscar nom Bonham Carter joint.
I agree.
So let's go character name and title. Which one's speaking to you right now?
I'm blanking a little bit. I know recently she was in the remake of Ocean's 8. Now, Ocean is technically the last name of the main character. I don't know if that would count here.
Yeah.
Do you have a better guess?
Anne Hathaway, where have you been? I feel like Ocean's 8 should count.
That's my thought too, but it's a little sketchy.
You know what? You've been on such a heater. I got queued up. I'm ready for Ocean's 8, dude.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, roll the dice, gamble it.
Yeah.
Hit me, Vegas. Oh my God! What is
6%.
Dude,
Let me cook.
I'm bringing nothing to the table. It's like those memes where Kobe drops 81 and someone drops 0.
Andrew
and they say
Bynum.
Kobe and so dropped 81. Yeah. I'm Andrew Bynum right now, dude. You are fucking killing this. Okay, so we have one guest left. We're going to use it for Oscar nominated Best Picture and character name and title. Now, Nick, how crazy would it be if we just went with Cimarron right now?
If it was a character's
How
name,
fucking wild.
if it was a character's name.
It was. The son, the kid.
Oh my. We have to do it.
If they don't give us...
I was going to
if they-
go with shit. I was going to say Schindler's List, but
Nah, dog. Fucking Cimarron.
all right.
I'm scared. It's not gonna work. I'm scared it's not gonna work. But we're gonna do it because we know Cimarron.
We have to.
The Yancey's son is named Cimarron, and I'm gonna guess 3, 2, 1. Fucking rigged, dude. Are you kidding me?
I disagree with this quiz.
Wholeheartedly.
I mean, we're talking Best Picture winner.
Okay. Nick, we know for a fact that that's true because we literally watched the movie and reviewed it for over 2 hours. I say that we just run this quiz back again real quick, punch in the answers, and we'll give it another stab and see what we get for our final score. Okay, time jump. We have our quiz refilled out, and since Vulture doesn't know what the they're talking about, we think we deserve that extra guess back and then some. So we have both guesses ready. So Nick, let's go for character name and title. We know Schindler's List is a winner. So it is just nomination. So
Yeah,
I feel like for good karma, we should just go with Schindler's List because that was one of our movies we watched.
I agree. Schindler's List.
3%. That's still a hell of a score.
Wow. Wow.
You know what's fucking Cimarron would have been? Like 0.3 because nobody knows what that movie is.
Yeah.
That's such horseshit, dude. I can't believe they did that to
That's
us.
so bad.
Okay, which means we have one guest left for Oscar-nominated Best Picture and Mrs. Bonham Carter. Unless it's one of the Harry Potter movies. Like if Harry Potter Deathly Hallows got nominated for Best Picture, which I doubt.
I have one, but I don't know if it was nominated for Best Picture. She was in Fight Club.
Ooh, oh yeah. I think that's as good as it's gonna get,
It's as
man.
best as I got.
You've been killing it. I'm riding your coattails this entire quiz.
Let's do it.
Let's guess. Oh. Okay, so we got 8 out of 9 correct and top 25% of people today. That's got to be our best one yet.
Looking at the most popular answer for her, it was The King's Speech.
Never saw that.
Neither did I. Hans Zimmer Best Picture, most popular was Inception. Hans Zimmer, Anne Hathaway, Interstellar.
I forgot she was in that.
Me too. And the Oscar-nominated Best Picture, character name and title, popular was Oppenheimer.
Oh, fresh in everybody's minds, but we went with our boy Schindler.
Yeah, did Oppenheimer save Jews? No, he murdered millions. But I guess they were born out of the same conflict. So, there's a crossover there. There's a world where they're both important.
As long as Edward Scissorhands or Sweeney Todd joins the mix, I'm in.
That is an Avengers I would watch.
All right. Well, I feel warmed up, Nick. Are you ready to talk about this week's movie?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The movie we're watching this week has no business being near an Oscar nomination or near Hans Zimmer.
And you know what? The next time or at some other time when we play the Cinematrix quiz, I want to incorporate the movie we are watching and reviewing this week as an answer because I do think it could pop up somewhere. And the movie we are watching is Black Moon Rising from 1986.
Oh boy.
Now, Nick, a lot of our audience members have probably never seen this movie or even know it exists. So I think it's only fair that we watch the trailer, share it with the audience so they get a sense of what we're getting into this week.
All right, let's take a look, my friend.
Meet Sam Quint. When the government has a job they can't handle, they get him.
Hell yes.
His specialty is getting in, getting out, and getting away with it. From the mind of John Carpenter, Black Moon Rising.
They really gave away.
From the mind of John Carpenter.
They really gave away all the best scenes.
Oh, yeah, no, trailers back in the day.
I like the sexual innuendo
of what?
When they said he's good at getting in. And then it's him laying in bed with Linda Hamilton. It's like, whoa.
I brought this to the table for a very specific reason, and it's been lingering in my brain for about a year. And that's a little bit of a hint of why I brought this to the table. We're kind of celebrating an anniversary with this movie. Do you have any guesses of why I brought this?
It feels like it's probably the anniversary of The Wraith. Is it the anniversary of us watching The Wraith?
Correct, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen. So The Wraith came out on our podcast on April 26th, and this episode will premiere on April 24th. So do you have any clue as to why I lined it up this way? Like, why this movie?
Because it's a movie, a bad 80s movie that features a futuristic car.
That is on the right track. But Nick, what if I told you that these two movies were actually related somehow?
I'd believe you. Tell me how.
I gotta shout out my coworker, Jason, who is a listener of the pod. So shout out, Jason. When I was talking to him a year ago about The Wraith, he usually Wikipedias the movie and says, what the hell is, like, what's going on here? But apparently in the Philippines, The Wraith was advertised as the sequel to Black Moon Rising. And we clicked on the link. There was a whole Filipino news article.
Excuse me?
Like those old ass scans of newspapers.
What?
On the internet. Yeah. Jason was looking at it and he said, "What? Wait, what? Why did they market this as the sequel to Black Moon Rising?" And I looked at it and thought, I don't know, but this is a shoo-in for the watch list. And honestly, I don't know why. Maybe Black Moon Rising did gangbusters in its very limited box office return in the Philippines for a desperate move for whatever studio did The Wraith to advertise it as the sequel to this movie. Nick, your thoughts on that, having seen both these movies now?
I
see your mind is blown. So I see your mind
it just feels
in the Philippines, this is the prequel to The Wraith.
In the Philippines, this is lore. This is deep lore. That's having watched both these movies, I don't know how you could ever come to that conclusion or accept that as reality.
The similarities are they're from the same year. So this movie came out in January of 1986. And The Wraith, I think, came out in November or something. And then it came out like February or March in 1987 in the Philippines. And they just marketed it as the sequel to this movie for no fucking reason.
Yeah, but The Wraith is a ghost car.
It's a ghost car. It has something to do with the afterlife. And this one is literally just a prototype car. Like it's appalling to me. It's almost disrespectful to an entire country to just pitch this as a sequel to a totally unrelated, not even the same movie production company.
Yeah, it just, I'm baffled. I'm shocked.
Isn't that insane? Yeah, I'm looking at it because the Wraith was done by New Century Entertainment Corporation, whatever the hell that is. And this one was done by New World Pictures, I believe, which I have stuff to talk about later on. Wild stuff, man. So that is why this is on the slate. Literally the only reason, after I learned that weird fact.
Well, let's talk about this movie. We'll let the listeners decide, I guess. And then you'll have to go back and listen to the Wraith episode.
All right, so let's get into it. This movie is directed by Harley Kokelis. Apparently he's known for a movie called Battle Truck. And he was also the second unit assistant director on Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Put those two together, you got this movie.
Shout out, this movie was written by, at least I believe originally, John Carpenter.
I do have an asterisk on the written by because, so John Carpenter wrote the script, but he sold it in the 70s. And this is coming from the book John Carpenter, The Prince of Darkness by a name I can't pronounce. So he wrote it in 1974 and then sold it in late 1975 to producer Harry Gitz, who doesn't even have a credit on this movie. So he got lost in the sauce at some point. And then a decade later, it ended up being directed by Harley Kokelis, and it was rewritten by Desmond Nakano and William Gray. It's a John Carpenter original idea. However, it just got totally regurgitated through two randos 10 years later. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, John Carpenter's quote on this was, it was right. He wrote this right around the time he made Escape from New York, and his quote
it's got to be when he wrote it.
Yeah,
because when he made it was late 70s, so it's probably the same time as he was writing it.
Yeah,
right.
So his quote is, "It was my car is stolen. I'm going to get it back." Story, he said, and he followed that up by, "I have never seen the final film." And I'll tell you what, if you've seen the final film, there's nothing about this that is, my car is stolen and I'm going to get it back.
As we'll learn in Plot Talk, Tommy Lee Jones is not even going for the car. He's going for what he stashed in the car.
And a woman.
A perfect segue to who is in this movie. This movie stars Tommy Lee Jones. Welcome back to the show. Tommy Lee Jones of Volcano.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Linda Hamilton of Terminator fame. And Robert Vaughn, who was from the hit 1968 movie Bullet with Steve McQueen.
Also in the Superman movies, I believe, the original Superman movies.
So like I said, this is from New World Pictures. I do have a link on here, Nick. Can you please navigate to their Wikipedia page? And can you scroll down with me to the films that they have produced?
Okay.
Just tell me if you recognize anything.
Well, they definitely have some. They started out with some Angel adjacent movies. Angels Die Hard, Angels Hard as They Come, Bury Me an Angel.
So the only movie I recognize is Children of the Corn, but there was multiple other production companies involved in that.
Hellraiser 2. I don't know. It doesn't look like they did the original Hellraiser.
Nick, I want you to scroll down to the second to last one Oh no, sorry, the third to last one. They actually did the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie from 1991.
Meet the Applegates is the third to last.
Yeah, so just click on that
Oh no!
and just tell me what just tell me your impressions. Like what's going on here.
Just seeing the picture here, I am not. Meet the new Bugs on the Block. Yeah, I don't want to be a part of that.
like a ripoff of like Coneheads or something, right?
Yes.
So we can click. Get the hell out. Get out, Nick. Get out.
I'm
Get
out. I'm
Get
out.
of there.
I'm out.
So it seems like this production company just puts out a rando B movies. So that's what we're doing with.
Makes sense.
So a lot of mystery with this movie and this production company, and it's so much mystery that we don't even have a budget for this movie. Nick, you scoured the internet. I scoured. I couldn't find shit. What's going on here?
If you're not given a budget, you must be pretty ashamed of how much you spent based on the return, because we know the return worldwide is 6.6 million.
And since I shouted out The Wraith, same year, similar vibes. The Wraith had a budget of $2.7 million and had a return of 3.5. So with this one having a return of 6.6, I feel like it's might be kind of relative. And you know what? To make it fun, at the end of this thing, we're going to take our best stabs of what we think the budget actually was. What do you say?
I love that. See, I think this would probably be a little closer to Escape from New York, which was the $6 million. So I think if it was lucky, it broke even here.
What we do on this podcast is one of our shticks is we watch movies that flopped, movies that bombed at the box office. And we do have our coveted 40-40 offender, which violates both of those categories. When a movie's average score is under 40% favorable, and if it only makes 40% or less, then that is considered a bomb on our part. However, there's not enough ratings on this movie. There's not enough budget information on this movie for us to completely know what's going on. So this can't even qualify for any of that. It's just a giant goddamn mystery. And I'm ready to dive in. What do you say?
I couldn't be more excited. Let's do this.
Let me read you this log line. A thief, Quint, is hired by the Justice Department to steal incriminating tapes from a corrupt corporation. The tapes vanish when Quint hides them in the back of a hydrodynamic-powered racing car that is stolen by a hot car ring. Sounds sick. I like the poster. The name is crazy. I see John Carpenter on the poster. I'm in. Let's go.
Let's do this. Well, let's figure out what we're dealing with here in Plot Talk.
Plot Talk.
We do open on instructions. It's our favorite. We first saw this
It's a John Carpenter special.
First saw this in Escape from New York on our podcast, where they explain the world. This one, they really just lay out the mission. I think it's the FBI is looking to get dirt on this Lucky Dollar Corporation for embezzlement or tax fraud. They need someone to go retrieve this specific cassette data tape. Is that what I pretty much gathered?
Yes. We start with him stealing a tape.
Nick, when these credits hit, I forgot that I read the snippet that this was written by John Carpenter, but the opening credits gave me big John Carpenter vibes with the font and the score. However, John Carpenter is not on the track.
No, he's not. Although we get super synthy music the whole time. This is your quintessential 80s music for an 80s action film. It's about as stereotypical as you could get.
We just start out hot. So enter Sam Quint, Tommy Lee Jones. He is a former thief. We're in Vegas. Quint goes to the Lucky Dollar Corporation. He sneaks in. He starts stealing the disc, and an alarm goes off. And then he is pursued by one of his adversaries, Marvin Ringer, who is played by Lee Ving. Now, Nick, don't look at my comment. Don't look at another tab. I'm just going to hit you with something crazy. Are you ready?
Hit me.
Lee Ving. Do you know who this guy is?
I do not.
No top tier facial recognition here. This is just good detective research by the Just Play It team, Mr. Pop, Captain Pop himself. So he's actually the frontman for a hardcore punk band named Fear. And I checked out one of their songs, which is I Don't Care About You. And I thought, man, this sounds like it could totally be in a Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack. I look up Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtracks, and one of their songs, I Love Living in the City, was not only featured in Tony Hawk's Underground 2, but also in a video game that we have personally played over and over and over on co-op mode of The Warriors.
No way.
Can you think of the song just by the title name? If you listen to it, I swear to God, you will remember the song.
I think I know exactly what song this is.
Look it up.
Yep, this exact song I thought it was.
I love living in the city.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Right? That was a fun discovery.
That's a super fun fact.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because when Lee Ving comes on screen, I thought, who is this dollar store Kurt Russell? But then I had to throw some respect on this guy's name because he's from the band Fear. We've heard his songs before, and we love it.
We do.
And we also learned that Marvin Ringer is another former thief and acquaintance of Quint, who also works for the Lucky Dollar Corporation. Now, I didn't know that because in my notes, my question was, how does Ringer know Quint? Like, has Quint robbed the Lucky Dollar Store or Lucky Dollar Corporation multiple times and is like his giant chicken to his Peter Griffin? But apparently on Wikipedia, on the plot summary, it says that Ringer is a former thief and acquaintance. So did they explain this? Did I miss something?
No, it was implied. Very similar to Snake Plissken, where he shows up and it's Snake Plissken. They just know who he is. He's famous. He has a reputation. You just accept it. I think we take for granted how 80s movies were all the same and you just accepted them as they came. Your main bad guy has an adversary that he knew in a past life. That's just how it is.
They're frenemies.
Don't read into it.
Yeah.
You don't get back. Yeah, they're frenemies. That's how it is. There's nothing more to know.
Marvin Ringer comes in with a New Jack City style Uzi, starts shooting up the joint.
A lot of Uzis.
Although our boy Quint, he makes it out of there. He walks away with the data tape. So we're thinking, okay, we're off to a great start.
So cut to subplot. It should be the main plot, but we'll call it the subplot of the movie. There's this prototype vehicle called the Black Moon. James, what is this Black Moon vehicle?
Upon looking it up, it's inspired and based on the Wingo. And I can't tell if this is Wingo or Wing Ho. I thought it was a Chinese company just based on the spelling, but it is Canadian. It's based off the Wingo Concordia 2, which is a real prototype. It's a one of one, an original creation by Bernard. This name's hella French. Bear with me. Beaujardins.
I'd call him Beaujardin.
Bojangles.
There it is.
And Clyde Ewok, aka Clyde Kwok. And I was confused if they actually used the real one or if they just built copycats, but I believe they actually brought the real one down. So I was thinking about the budget, like, all right, like, was the company going for publicity or was the production trying to go for rarity? And I think it's the former.
I'd agree with that.
Nick, how would you describe how this car looks?
Flat.
It looks like a Vizio TV remote that's upside down on wheels with a giant spoiler.
Yeah, that's wow.
Like very
yeah.
like
you nailed it. You nailed it.
I was looking at my remote. I thought this looks like the Black Moon.
It was back when sleek was everything. Had to be short,
futuristic.
Yeah.
We're in the desert and we see there's this team of 3 guys and it looks like they're going for some sort of land speed record. And we see that this car can achieve up to 325 miles per hour. And we learn later that it also runs on tap water.
Which is the craziest part of it.
Yeah, that's insane. I don't know how that works.
Which doesn't come up really throughout the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's being tested by Earl Wyndham, played by Dick Jackal.
Dick Jack.
Richard Jackal. And some other guys. So Quint's on the run and Wyndham and his crew, they cross paths at this gas station where Quint is on the run. He's on his way to Los Angeles to deliver this data tape, but he has a busted ass Jeep Cherokee and he asks for a ride, but his Jeep isn't broken. So maybe was he trying to ditch it just to kind of lose the tail of Dirty Ringer and the boys?
This is going to be a theme throughout this pod. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's just not explained to us. I know his car got shot up by the Uzis on the way out, but he clearly drove it all the way to this gas station. Did you notice at this gas station how expensive the gas was?
No, I thought it was like $1.20 or something.
I thought it was $100.
No.
Okay.
I think it was $1.23.
Okay, because I saw the period towards the end of it. Well, my thought was, is gas super expensive in this world we're living in? And I'm thinking this tap water car is so valuable and it's going to get stolen because gas has become
it's a
so
Mad Max
expensive.
situation.
Right. So if you had a car that runs on tap water,
They gotta get that gasoline.
in my head, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is a major plot point. I found something. Nah, turns out not that deep, pal.
Let me hint at that. That's another theme that's going to pop up. We're going to think we found something very deep, but this movie is very surface level. So Quint comes up to Wyndham and says, hey, are you going to Los Angeles? Can I get a ride? And he looks at his Jeep and he's like, no, you broke ass weirdo. Oh, wait, you're pulling up the prices. Let's see here.
Does it not say 114.9? Or is that 118 and 9/10 of a cent like they do at gas stations?
I think it's a tenth.
Okay. There's no period in the 114. So I was okay. I just wanted to show you what I was looking at.
Did Quint hide the data tape in the Black Moon before or after Ringer and the boys show up?
Before, because he knew they were going to Los Angeles. They had a map out and they were trying to go to Los Angeles. And he helped them.
They're trying to find a specific restaurant. Yeah.
You don't know when that's going to get there. How are you going to follow them? Your car was busted, or maybe it wasn't. We don't know. It was a weird decision.
Well, I'll tell you who's really good at following people. It's f***ing Ringer and the boys, because they show up at this gas station and Quint has a little semi standoff with them. He already stashed the cassette data tape in the Black Moon. I think it's in the parachute pocket. And there's this big truck that drives in, and it's almost like a train track situation. Like when someone is being chased and they run across the tracks and the train goes, and then you're thinking, okay, we're separated and we're in two different areas and I can make a clean getaway. This is just a truck. It's just a semi truck that just splits in between them. And Quint takes this opportunity to sprint over to his Jeep and drives off. And Ringer and the boys don't even pursue.
He got us again.
We missed him. But Quint does make it to Los Angeles. And this is where he meets up with FBI agent Johnson, who's played by Bubba Smith of Police Academy fame, as we all know.
So FBI agent Johnson, our Bubba Smith, he meets up with Quint, and Quint's demanding more pay. He's saying, this is dangerous. I want to retire. This job was supposed to be his retirement. We don't know if he's worked for the Justice Department before. We don't know if this is a one-time thing. And the pay he's going to get from this is retirement kind of money.
One last score for Quincy boy.
Yes. We find out for no reason at all that he has 3 days to get this tape back.
72 hours. That's the hard deadline.
Why 3 days? Because
it's not too much time, but it's not too little time. That's why.
Now, Quint, he's following Wyndham and the Black Moon. They're at a nice restaurant. Wyndham and crew who created this car, they are negotiating. I think he's a German guy.
He's Italian. He's
Italian. There you go.
Yeah.
The Black Moon guys are saying, it's American. We'd love to sell it to an American manufacturer. It's Canadian, hilariously enough.
In the valet section, they're explaining to some passersby, or maybe even the valet guy, about their whip. And they're saying, hey, we've learned how to have this run on tap water. So technically it runs on hydrogen, but apparently they've patented the idea and executed it where you can just insert tap water into the car and it converts it on site to hydrogen. So I'm thinking, how much negotiation has to be going on? That's your meal ticket. Like, sell that idea. You have the technology.
You think you'd go work for the government?
So not only does it run on hydrogen and it could be fueled by tap water, but it's hella fast. So they've mastered this. I see you're speechless. I want to point out one last thing. They say the body is made out of Kevlar, except they incorrectly say Kelvar.
Even the body's unique. It's made up of Kelvar, the same material they use for bulletproof vests.
It's made out of the same material that they make bulletproof vests. Kelvar.
Kevlar's heavy. Kevlar is super heavy. Obviously, it stops bullets. It's a material that stops bullets. It's heavy woven fibers. If you were setting land speed records and going 325 in it, you are not coating that with Kevlar.
You're using carbon fiber or fiberglass.
Yeah. So I was sitting there thinking to myself, all right, so we're throwing everything out the window. Not like I was expecting physics to be a part of this movie, but holy smokes.
No.
So Quint wants to get to the disc. He knows it's in the car. It's in the valet's hands. He doesn't at any point tell anybody what's going on, saying, hey, I stashed something in there. Here's $100, valet guy. Let me just open that hatch and take my disc out, and we'll call it a day, and we'll be good.
That's a great point.
He has multiple times when he can talk to people. He could talk to the owners of it and say, hey, I was the guy from the gas station. Sorry, I hid something in here to get it to LA. I know, sketchy, my bad. I'll give you $1,000. And you just let me grab my disc, and I'm going to go give it to Johnson. Movie over. But no.
You hate when you can point out a part in the movie where you can just end the movie.
Yes.
And that will not be the first time this comes up.
We're making this a lot harder than we have to. But before he can get to the disc, there's a group of auto thieves led by Nina. This is Linda Hamilton. For hair and makeup, this is a bad choice for Linda. She looks awful with that.
Why?
With that 80s hair.
With the mom hair?
Oh, dude, it's so permed up, and
that was just the style back then, man.
But I feel like this was over the top.
Well, that matches the vibes of this movie, because inside there's the restaurant scene. The Black Moon car engineer team is pitching it to this Italian guy, and before Nina steals all the cars, she's kind of scoping out the place, I guess. She's in the restaurant for some reason. So is Quint. And there's just an elongated scene for no reason. And it ends with Nina pretty much just bringing the valet guy out at gunpoint and saying, hey, give me the keys to the Mercedes, the Range Rover, the supercar on the trailer. Give me that, give me that, give me that. And I thought, that's a pretty effective way to steal cars.
Okay. I thought the same thing. Then I also thought to myself, if it's on a trailer, why the fuck does the valet have a key to the supercar?
Wait.
Why does the valet have the keys to this car?
I didn't even think about that. You just blew this movie wide open.
So
I don't have an answer for that. Holy shit. Yeah, the key should be on the dude's chest. Should be in his chest pocket. Are you kidding me?
That's exactly where they should be. But they're not.
I'm so stupid and you're so smart. That's so fucking funny.
Apparently the valet has the keys to this car.
Plot hole.
And for some reason can give it to Linda Hamilton.
So Linda Hamilton does just that. She steals the whip, and Quint chases after her in a car that he acquired at some point in Los Angeles. I think it's a Ford Thunderbird, right?
Yeah. I think he stole it. I didn't really see when he got it, so I just accepted maybe he stole it.
When the semi-truck separates Ringer and the boys from Quint, he drives away in his Jeep Cherokee Chief, and that's the last we see of the Jeep. And then we hit the bar scene. He meets up with Johnson, and then we're at the dinner scene, and he's in a Ford Thunderbird. That's all we know.
That's all the movie's going to tell you.
So a chase ensues, and Nina knows how to drive this Black Moon prototype car and even hits the NOS in one of those downtown LA tunnels.
It's called Turbo Boost in the movie. Just a button that says Turbo Boost.
Okay, so for the audience, I'm going to say hits the NOS because I grew up on Fast and Furious, and I understand that's a brand name of nitrous oxide, but hitting the NOS is a thing. That's a movie trope. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to say, this is a very good chase scene. The editing is already way better than the Wraith. Editor is Todd Ramsey, who did edit John Carpenter's Escape from New York and The Thing. And this is actually the only connection to John Carpenter besides how he's credited with the original idea. When we were talking about the Wraith, we were talking about how bad the editing was. And I got to give a shout out because I thought, oh, wow, the editing is actually really good during this chase scene.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched some of the scenes in the chase scene because we've been critical before of scenes that are clearly done slowly and then the tape sped up, and you can tell. I couldn't find that. The case. I thought the Thunderbird did on one turn because it was a little choppy on the turn and the body roll a little bit, but rewatching it, everything else in the frame is moving at real time. So it was just the suspension on the old 80s Thunderbird.
No, I thought the stunt driving was actually really good, and the editing was better than some movie that we have seen on this podcast. I didn't have any problems with it.
No, not at all.
But the Black Moon is fast as frick and loses Quint and his Thunderbird, loses them in a parking garage and goes through a secret garage door that looks like a wall. So we're thinking, okay, secret base is happening up in here. And Quint follows a couple suspicious semi-trucks to this parking garage because the Black Moon does end up driving up some ramps and then hides in a semi-truck. And then the semi-truck drives to this secret base of Grand Theft Auto operations.
It's a very coordinated car stealing operation.
They're on it.
And I thought that at this point in the movie, maybe they would say that car is more valuable than the tape. We need to get that car back. No, nobody gives a shit about this car. No one gives a shit about the technology in this car.
Only the 3 guys that made it.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that care about it. And Linda Hamilton.
And Quint even goes to them and says, "Hey, I need your help getting the car back." And they say, "We should call the cops, dude. We just call the cops." They don't even know he's working for the FBI at this point. Quint could literally say, "Hey, look, sounds crazy. I drove to this parking garage. There's a secret wall. The operation's going out of here. FBI, please raid this place. You can get the tape." No one else knows this tape exists. No one's so this is. I'll say it now.
Well, I don't think he saw the truck driving through the wall. He came up and he had that Dom Toretto, I can sense what happened, like a sense echo, like I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. He just kind of stares at the wall like he knows what's up, but he doesn't technically have any hard evidence.
Yeah. What's so frustrating for me about where this plot's going to start going here is that Quint wants the tape, these guys want the car, and then this thief ring doesn't know anything about that car or their tape. They just want any cars, and they just happen to steal this one. And really, if they all sat down on a table, they could have just hashed this out. Say, "Hey, there's a tape in the car. Need it. I'll leave you to your business." Cool. The guys could have said, "Hey, this car is it's a lot of technology. We'll give you any other car. Heck, we'll give you $1 million because we're going to make more than that on this car. Just give me that car back." But they're all after things that the other person in the story is not after. It's not like there's multiple people going for the same thing. They're all just going for different things. It's so convoluted.
That's a great point, and that's 2 points that you brought up where the movie could have ended right then and there. Call the cops or work out a deal.
If you're Quint, you don't even call the cops. You just tell your handler. You tell Johnson, "Hey, Johnson, they're operating out of this tower." Like the Lucky Dollar Corporation isn't even a part of this movie anymore at this point.
They're just trying to catch up.
Vegas. They're
from the gas station. And they'll show up. They'll show up later.
They'll be back.
So Quint is very suspicious of this high tower, which is actually funny now that I'm saying that out loud because that's Bubba Johnson's name in Police Academy.
Yep.
This main evil base of operation is 2 skyscrapers where the corporate carjacking business takes place. I don't really get it.
Whoever the engineers were building this tower and building that underground area with secret walls would have been like, "Hey, guy." It's like the engineers who built the Batcave. Like, wouldn't you be like, "Hey, I know you're Batman. Like, come on, buddy.
What's going on here?"
Kind of put 2 and 2 together here.
Well, speaking of who made this, we meet Iron John, who was I think he's a construction worker or something. He's got a thick ass mustache. And he was one of the original construction workers. So Quint goes to him and says, "Hey, what do you know about this tower you worked on?" Later, he's gonna get originals from Iron John. He's gonna revisit this character later and get more. He's gonna get the secret plans.
Yes,
but he gets the public plans from City Hall. So then Quint's staking them out, and these towers are owned by this guy named Ed Ryland, this is Robert Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the head of this weird corporate car stealing syndicate. And the basement of these towers is where the giant chop shop is. And Ryland has this whole operation in the basement, and he keeps the best cars for himself up at one of the top floors of his tower and sells the rest. So we have this weird organized corporate crime gone in 60 seconds thing going on.
No one asks who owns this tower. What's he doing? How does he make that money?
What's the business? Yeah, there's no cover story. There's no alibi. We're just, again, this is what it is and accept it, audience.
But because he keeps those cars on the top floor up there is a freight elevator that can carry a car up. So they do introduce that.
Meanwhile, Linda is not happy at work. Linda Hamilton is not happy at work, aka Nina. And she stole the Black Moon for sport. She stole it for herself. Again, kind of like Gone in 60 Seconds. It wasn't on the hit list. It wasn't like, hey, go get a couple Mercedes, go get a Ferrari, go get a Rolls Royce. She saw this car on the trailer and said, I want this for me. And Ryland, Robert Vaughn, says, I don't want any trophies for individuals. This is a business. Okay, we're doing business over here. So he says, you got to give up the Black Moon. And they put it in this weird cage, like the Black Moon car is in a timeout. And then at this point, Nina says, I gotta go. I want to leave the compound. And there's this weird game of chicken that she plays with Ryland, who is controlling the secret garage door. And she is ready to drive her car full speed, 60 miles an hour into a wall. So Ryland is very hesitant to do this. And this is where I'm picking up that Ryland kind of has the hots for Nina in like a weird pervy uncle way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this seed will grow later on in the movie.
It only gets creepier.
He doesn't want to hurt Nina, so he opens the door last second. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And she drives out. And then after Nina leaves the towers, Quint follows her to a nightclub. And at the club, they meet and they have their first kind of, I think they had an interaction at the restaurant, but it wasn't direct.
Yes.
They have their first direct interaction with each other at this nightclub.
Yeah. And then we get a nice 80s movie trope in the nightclub as they're flirting. There's a song on. I didn't look up the song, don't know what the song is, but the chorus says the words is about sleeping with the enemy. Like sleeping with the enemy. And it's like, you didn't have to make it that obvious.
I think Nina does not know who Quint is, and Quint probably knows who Nina is.
I also love how the FBI doesn't have any intel on this massive car stealing ring going on in
this
LA.
Corporate level, white collar carjacking.
Quint, go figure it out. We have no idea what's happening here. Like, you didn't give me it. It would have been nice if Johnson gave him a little intel.
Just send in Quint.
Something, saying that you know what's going on.
Yeah. So they kind of leave a coded exchange to each other of, let's see where this night goes. And we know it's sex.
Yeah.
But we can't get there before we go through one of the weirder scenes of this movie. And that is a scene where Ryland is watching a videotape of Nina. And it's like a job interview for being in the car jacking company. But what's going on here? Nick, what are your thoughts? I have some very unhinged, dark thoughts going on here.
Very creepy. He's clearly in the tapes very domineering over her, very controlling in a sexual way. It seemed like this guy gets his rocks off, almost serial killer-esque. And there's a scene we didn't even talk about, where Ryland, we do see some like sociopath, psychopath tendencies when he's dealing with this other business partner, we'll say, and he's going to get in bed with another business partner and he's going to kill this other guy. So we can tell he's a bit of a psychopath, but this right here.
Can I stop you right here for some 4-dimensional fun fact?
Talk to me.
Remember how I said The Wraith was the sequel to this movie? Did you even clock our guy, our king, our biggest piece of shit of 2023, Nick Cassavetes, aka Packard from The Wraith? He is Ryland's number one goon.
I didn't clock him in the movie, but later when I was looking through IMDb, I had to go back and see it. Yes.
Welcome back, the champ, the biggest sociopath / psychopath of 2023, the biggest piece of shit fictional character that we crowned last year, of Nick Cassavetes playing Packard in The Wraith. He's making a return in Black Moon Rising. And apparently he plays a guy named Louis or Luis. I don't know.
So is this where the Venn diagram overlaps here on these two movies?
That's it. It's less than 1%. Venn diagram.
So wait. The Wraith is quote unquote the sequel, right? To this movie.
Yes.
So Packard left this crime syndicate and then moved to this small town, murdered Charlie Sheen's character.
Oh, you know what's crazy? I mean, spoilers. Luis gets capped in this movie. So he dies in this movie. But then maybe he was the original Wraith. And he came back and he was meant to get revenge on his killer, which was Linda Hamilton, as we'll learn. but he never got it. So he just banished himself to Arizona and posed as a high schooler who was super abusive and got in conflict with Charlie Sheen.
Okay.
That's the best fan theory we can come up with. But going back to this this weird, creepy scene. So Ryland is watching this videotape of Nina, and you said it was kind of sexual and dominant. This gave me huge Casting Couch vibes.
Yeah.
And Ryland in the scene, as he's watching this weird like porno audition tape that he made with Nina, he starts to bite his bottom lip and look very aroused. And this is where I picked up something is not right with Ryland.
It was very creepy.
So weird.
And Ryland's behind the camera filming her. She's so uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable in this scene.
We're all uncomfortable. Nobody likes
except
this.
Ryland. Except for Ryland. He's
Ryland is kind of into
he's
it.
Baba Baba loving it, dude. He's so into it.
Which is a perfect segue to a sex scene with Tommy Lee Jones and Linda Hamilton. Saxophone, Romancing the Stone and all is going on. And I'm thinking, wow, that was fast.
Yeah, it was so...
They banged.
Sultry. It was that brass... The brass track was so sultry in this scene.
The brass and that ass. It was crazy.
It basically was a porno.
It. Cue the Romancing the Stone music.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting it on, you got it. If you're in the 80s and you're getting it on, and this was a pretty steamy sex scene for the 80s, I'll say. There was
boob.
There was boob. There was a lot of skin. Tommy Lee Jones is interesting to me. He's jacked in this movie, but his face has never looked. You can go back and watch him as early as you want. His face never looks younger than 50, though.
Some people just look old, like Greg Oden.
Wow. I never thought Greg Oden would be brought into this podcast, and yet here we are.
So they bang, and he's asking her to help him get the car back.
But not because he cares about the car.
He just wants needs tape.
Yeah, let's not forget this. Nobody cares about the car, other than the car nerds.
Meanwhile, Wyndham and his team go on to the towers to look for some evidence to give to the police. They're still riding on the police train. And Nick Cassavetes, one of Ryland's, his top henchman goon, ends up killing one of the members of the Black Moon car engineer team members. And he does this in a hilarious scene. Nick. So first off, Packard's going to Packard. He's going to run over somebody because he loves murdering people with cars and weapons. So he runs over this. Okay, let me back up. So there's this deaf guy on the Black Moon car team. I didn't understand why he was deaf.
No reason.
So Packard, Nick Cassavetes, he runs over, but it's more like he runs under this guy because this guy is deaf and he can't hear the car coming. And one of the other guys is saying, watch out, watch out. And the deaf guy is waving at him, smiling like
and the
an
guy
idiot.
does like the Forrest Gump wave back at him.
Yeah, like my boat. So he gets run over, but it doesn't look like a car hits him. It looks like he takes the biggest bounce off a trampoline I've ever seen. So yeah, there's quick cuts, Nick Cassavetes, deaf guy, and then all of a sudden, slow motion, he just jumped off a bounce pad and lands on the ground. So it does not look like he got hit by a car.
He lands feet first, but his legs stay straight and his front of his body just bends over.
And then the team member's like, oh my God, he just got hit. And then the funniest part of this scene is a garbage truck with like a bulldozer bucket just swoops and scoops this guy up and tosses him in the back.
They're so coordinated.
That's the most efficient kill and cleanup scene I think we've ever seen in a movie.
There's no blood. There's just this body. This guy drives away. They're like, oh my God, we can save him. But nope, here comes the scoop.
Yep, that's the end of Tyke, which is that guy's name in the movie.
Dude, it was so... Oh, I loved that.
It was
I
great.
loved
it.
That.
Was awesome.
Meanwhile, Ringer's back. Our boy Ringer is finally caught up to the party, and he has tracked down Quint.
Fresh off of sex.
And he gets attacked. This is after they kill Iron John, right?
So he goes to Iron John because I think Iron John was going to give him the secret blueprints. So he's going there for top tier intel. And then he shows up and Iron John is dead in his hospital home care bed.
Yeah, and Ringer's there, but why would Ringer kill? Why does Ringer care about these blueprints? He works for the Lucky Dollar Corporation.
What the hell?
He just wants the tape back.
Well, I was gonna say the only argument would be it prevents Quint from getting the tape and delivering it to the FBI. However, the tape is still out there, so I think you would want the plans so that you can go and retrieve it and destroy it yourself. What? And first off, why are they keeping this in their Lucky Dollar Corporation if it's so incriminating?
You need to wipe those tapes, man. Smash them. There's nothing in the cloud in 1986. Everything's on a tape you could just burn. Why is everything on one tape that could be ejected and stolen?
That's pretty convenient.
How much
for the
evidence
good guys.
are you keeping on a tape? It's very convenient for the good guys. They want the disc to return, though. Quint obviously doesn't have it, but he has to fight now. He's getting beat up, and then he gets thrown under a car. His car? I better hope it's his car.
So let me say what happens here. So Ringer catch up again with his fucking goons, and they have this WWF beatdown on him in the parking lot. Now, did this fight scene
over cars?
Did this fight scene go on kind of long for you?
Way too long.
It seemed like they wanted to showcase every single wrestling move they could do. They were incorporating his car. They were like picking him up, doing a suplex onto the car windshield. And it just seemed like, it's like, okay, let's show this wrestling move. Oh, now let's show this move. Let's show this move. Quint's just getting his ass beat.
He got fucked up so bad.
He's getting fucked up.
He's getting thrown on top of the hood of cars. He's getting punched in the face.
There's like very
kicked.
acrobatic
So
fight. I was like, okay, we could have did this in a faster, more stylized way. But again, it just seemed like a tutorial video of how to do certain fight moves on Quint. So at some point, Quint gets slammed to the ground and he's next to his car and he starts to reach underneath it. And then he pulls out a revolver that's in like a Ziploc bag, a la Mad Max, just how Mad Max kept guns and shit under his car, and pops two of those guys.
There's really no reason for him to do this because at no point has there ever been a situation where he needed a gun under his car, but you know.
Well, now we're there. And Nick, he does pop off 7 shots in this revolver. Are there 7-shot, 8-shot revolvers out there? Because we count bullets.
Yeah, no, it was a 6-shooter. So this is just bad.
But,
It's just
but
oversight.
is there 7 bullet revolvers?
I'm sure they've made them. You can make a revolver with as many rounds as you want, but at the end of the day, he's holding a 6-shooter. And he fires 7 shots.
2 of those 7 shots get the henchman, and the other 5 shots are shot at Ringer, but he gets away.
Has to. Of course he does. So he heads over to Nina's place, all bloodied and beat up. She tends to his wound. He's more intent than ever to go get that tape. But that next day, Nina gets called by Ryland to come meet him. Why she would do this, don't know. You should honestly have skipped town by now. And he has the tape of her and Quint inside the garage together and a tape of them banging. So he has her apartment bugged.
Ryland has a camera that faces Nina's bed, which is weird. He also says, let's all watch this. Let's all watch this sex tape. And I'm thinking Ryland is pervy, and I don't like him.
Ryland, I don't know, man. I don't understand. So he's clearly a sexual psychopath, but it really doesn't have a bearing on the story at all.
No, it's just weird.
Wish I knew, but do not know.
So after Ryland forces everybody in the room to watch this weird sex tape, he deems her a traitor and locks her in a closet. Meanwhile, Quint and Wyndham determine that the chop shop entrance, the secret door garage wall, is too impenetrable from the garage level. So they think the best way in is to get in through the second tower, which is not developed yet. It's still under construction, so it's kind of empty and vacant, even though it looks complete on the outside. And it is tower heist time.
Yeah. So up to this point, we knew Quint was a thief, But now we're going to be a James Bond level agent man.
Mission Impossible.
We have plastic explosives. We have a grapple gun, synchronized watches. It is very serious now.
Yeah, and they're so top secret spy professional that they develop lasers that will blind the cameras. Quint takes this time to break into the secondary building, does the grapple gun, and shimmies across the cable to the active carjacking crime building. He discovers Nina locked in the closet and then gets her out.
Trapped in the closet.
And she's like, all right, F. Ryland, I'm all with you. Let's go steal the Black Moon.
She still doesn't understand why the Black Moon needs to be stolen. I don't think she knows about the tape yet. So she's just into stealing the Black Moon at this point, out of spite. Quint knocks out a guard, steals his uniform. Classic. He's walking around with Nina. Nina's in plain clothes and no one's asking questions. Obviously, Nina should be well known in this operation, but
everybody should know that she's in timeout.
Yeah, but Quint's in the guard uniform, so it's totally fine. They get to the chop shop, take the Black Moon. Wyndham is on the other side of the garage door and blows a hole in it with C4, some plastic explosive, which we know he developed a hydrogen car, did not know he was capable of C4.
Wouldn't put it past him.
But he does. So he blows a hole in this wall. As Quint is trying to drive through this hole, emergency metal bars drop down to cover up the hole in the door.
Jail bars.
Quint's going to drive the Black Moon into this aforementioned freight elevator.
Yeah, except he doesn't know this. He's thinking on his feet and he's saying to Nina, where do I go? Where do I go? And Nina's like, don't go there. It's a freight elevator. And then he drives into the freight elevator and they are just stuck in the elevator and that car is going up. This takes them to Ryland's office showroom. They go up to the top floor. They kind of drift around the room for a second. Then there's a a high noon standoff with Ryland and Quint and Nina in the Black Moon car. Nina, they actually have to enter this car through the moonroof. I don't think there's actually doors on this thing.
The Black Moon roof.
Yes. So Nina pops out of the Black Moon roof because we're thinking, oh no, they're caught. But just like Maggie from Escape from New York, Nina is very efficient with a handgun and headshots Packard.
Right in the dome. Basically looked like a ketchup packet exploded on his forehead.
So at this point, Quint gasses it. He goes pedal to the metal. So hour, 30 minutes, 57 seconds. Not only does Quint hit the NOS, but he runs over Ryland in the process and then pulls a fucking move I did not think I would ever see in cinematic history ever again after I saw the movie Furious 7. Furious 7 may have stolen the skyscraper to skyscraper move from Black Moon Rising. I was shook.
Yeah.
Because we saw that movie in theaters together. I'm not gonna lie. When Brian O'Connor and Dom Toretto took a Lykan Hypersport out of an Abu Dhabi skyscraper 70th floor, drove it into an adjacent skyscraper, spun the car around, busted out of the second skyscraper and landed into the third skyscraper, that's when I wrote off the Fast and the Furious franchise. I thought they have officially jumped the shark. I was all in it up until 6. 7 is what killed it for me. And they took that historic move from this movie because Tommy Lee Jones does just that. He busts out the window, sails across 150 feet and crashes into the vacant skyscraper and lands on a random floor. Thoughts?
I got to tell you, I saw it coming. You're in adjacent towers. You're on the penthouse. You got the turbo boost.
It was in the back of my mind. I'm not going to lie, but I was thinking there's no way Hollywood's busting out the skyscraper to skyscraper, hit the NOS move on us just yet. Black Moon did it first.
I would also like to point out the durability of the Black Moon. Maybe it's the Kelvar. Who knows?
Nice.
So they make the jump. They think they're safe. Quint finally gets his disc out of the bumper. And
Jesus.
And Ringer shows up. He's just one step behind.
Okay, so this was the last straw for me. This was the last straw for the, hey, there's this third party chasing you down the entire movie. So these guys just happened to be on the exact floor that they just crashed into in the abandoned building. Okay. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No,
Are you flabbergasted?
Unless if you could have calculated this move of the jump of the Black Moon from this building,
They didn't even
to
calculate
that.
it.
No, Ringer did.
So just like Peter Griffin and the chicken, Ringer and Quint have to have a fist fight. And this is also at the same time that Johnson, the FBI agent, shows up.
Okay, this
And
part.
Johnson,
This part. So they're fist fighting, and Johnson's right hand man goes because he's going to get involved. Like, okay, that's our guy who has the tape. And then there's this other guy. I don't know who he is, but he's attacking him. And Johnson basically tells him, like, no, like, let them fight to the death. And at this point, Quint's getting his ass kicked. He's still beat up from the whole Blueprint situation. He's been hurting this whole
from when he
time.
got jumped the other night.
So he's hurting. He's getting his ass kicked, and Johnson's just, nah. And they're just going to town on each other. And Quint ends up knocking out Ringer, is about to cut his throat, and then does this weird move where he just leaves the razor blade against his throat and lets him live. We don't know what happens with Ringer. We don't know. And he gives this disc tape to Johnson, and he's going to retire.
Just like Escape from New York, Snake Plissken got the job done and handed off the thing to the government.
Johnson even said something to the effect of, you had 20 minutes to spare. He's like really sticking to this 3-day timeline. Johnson also got up to that floor in that building pretty quick, huh?
How did everybody know to go up there?
Everybody went up to this abandoned building that a car just flew into. The real loser in this movie is the Lucky Dollar Corporation. They were so close to getting away with it all. Wyndham shows up, gets his car back in one piece. It's like, how are we going to get it down? Ha. Movie ends back at Nina's apartment. We're back with that sultry music to finish us out.
Cue the Romancing the Stone track.
They have to have this one last line to polish off this quote-unquote love story where Quint asks her, are you happy you stole the Black Moon? And she says, yeah. And he goes, me too. So, because that brought them together.
Oh, brother. This guy stinks.
And that's Black Moon Rising.
Directed by Harley Cocolas. Nick, do you have any nitpicks?
Really, for me, it's the misleading title and the poster.
So what did you think when you saw the title and the poster? I'll tell you what I thought.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be maybe closer to
Blade Runner vibes.
Yeah, I was going to say Fifth Element.
I thought, okay, what is the Black Moon? Is that a syndicate? Is that a planet? Is it a literal moon? Are we on some sort of cyberpunk world? I was thinking heavy on the sci-fi.
Yeah,
I thought this was going to be very sci-fi adjacent, maybe some AI involved, but it honestly was just a regular ass world
with just dumb physics.
And speaking of the title, Black Moon Rising, Black Moon we learned was the name of the car. We made a joke that the only rising was in the elevator, but what do you think they sincerely meant?
There was no come up for the car. The car wasn't important. I have a whole thing about the plot for later on, but
the movie's called Black Moon Rising, and it does no rising. If anything, it does falling with style outside of the skyscraper. A nitpick that I have is the just the cat and mouse relationship with Ringer and Quint, because Ringer and the boys provide nothing to the story, if there even is a story that exists in this movie, but they just show up at the wrong time, and the whole point of them is just to be a obstacle for Quint to overcome, which usually comes in the form of a fist fight or a chase scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we had to give the Lucky Dollar Corporation a character. It could have just been a bunch of henchmen chasing him or just a threat looming in the background. I have no idea. Why did they have a former relationship? This never comes into play. They never bring up a backstory. They just show up at every single corner when it's the most inconvenient for our main character. And just the cherry on top was when they showed up on that random ass floor of that abandoned skyscraper where he happened to crash into. Did they know his plan?
Apparently.
No.
Nobody knows what everybody's after. Nobody has overlapping motivations for anything. Why is Quint involved with the Justice Department? Why? I'm
The backstory wasn't built up to build up how he was super qualified for this job versus a Snake Plissken in Escape from New York.
Yes.
My last nitpick is Tyke, the deaf guy. This is William Sanderson. I was wondering, why is he deaf? William Sanderson is not deaf in real life. I saw this guy conducting interviews. He was hearing questions and speaking English back to the interviewers. I always have this suspicious thought when they don't give certain actors speaking lines, and I'm wondering if it's to cut costs. I know for extras, if they have speaking lines, they get bumped up to a new rate, and non-speaking background are just paid the base background rate. I was kind of suspicious, like, did they not want to pay this guy enough money because he wasn't technically saying any lines? But I'm sure they're still getting the minimum base rate.
Maybe it was just to justify him not hearing a car coming up behind him to run him over.
Honestly, it could have been that. And if it was that, I'm really bothered that they just didn't hire a deaf actor who actually did ASL, because they just kept doing these really stupid pantomime, like, oh, thumbs up, like, oh, I'm going to run this way. It's like, there's no ASL happening with this character. Like, they just glossed over that. I don't know why he was deaf. And I think you're totally right. I think it was just an excuse so that he can get run over by Packard.
He can do the Gump wave and then get hit.
Okay. That's my nitpicks. If you have any more, chime in. If not,
none worth bringing up. Let's get ourselves to the talking points.
So I want to talk about coattails and copycats. John Carpenter. I see you have a follow-up question to my topic.
I do. That would be, are we talking about these classic Carpenter story beats / characters? I know we talked about it originally being John Carpenter, and then did these new writers make these cliched versions of John Carpenter characters and or bastardize these characters? Because they had the similar John Carpenter story beats and character development and character backgrounds, but it was just a cheap knockoff version of it.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head there. So my main issue with this movie is how they took a story by John Carpenter and they just rode that. They rode John Carpenter's coattails to the finish line, if this movie even did finish, because they were trying to emulate a John Carpenter movie so much, from the synthy scores to the simple plot line, kind of like Escape from New York. But John Carpenter didn't have anything to do with this movie. Zero. It's one of those things where it says executive producer Steven Spielberg, and Steven Spielberg is literally just lending his name to the movie. When I finished this movie, I thought, of the John Carpenter movies we've watched, I felt like this was the worst performing one. Why was that? And I come to find out it's because he had nothing to do with the movie. And like you said, he didn't even see the movie.
Never cared to even see it.
So I felt like this movie production company was really just trying to copycat a John Carpenter style movie, because at this point he's done so many successful movies. They're also just copying other things. Like Quint just seemed very Mad Max to me, like original Mad Max, like a leather jacket wearing. I have my car. My gun is strapped to the bottom of my car. I'm just kind of being thrown into a situation and I'm reacting because I'm a survivalist badass, and a lot of Knight Rider vibes, because Knight Rider was a popular TV show from 1982 up until 1986. So I felt like this movie was just trying to capitalize on other properties' success and their shticks. I felt like this movie was very not genuine, and this company was just trying to copycat other successful properties. What do you think?
I echo all of your sentiments, and I'll add Snake Plissken as one of those characters, which obviously is a John Carpenter character.
Yeah, it was a very Escape from New York style plot like log line.
Yes, a lot of cheesy one-liners, no development of the story. It was a cheap knockoff of Carpenter characters written by people who have read. It would be like if you and I tried to write an M. Night Shyamalan movie, having watched M. Night Shyamalan movies, and just tried to make caricatures of M. Night Shyamalan's scripts and his characters.
And we broke into his house, found his diary, and found a 1-sentence log line of a movie, and plastered his name on the poster and said, based on the story by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
But it's written by us two jackasses.
Yeah, you could do that and you'd come up with something that was M. Night Shyamalan-esque, but it would be a very clear knockoff to it.
Something that you brought up here, the Black Moon crazy technology doesn't even matter. These guys are sitting on a gold mine of an idea of a car that runs on tap water, and that's not even the main focus. It's getting this data cassette tape.
Okay, I was going to save this for my final review, but let's just bring it up now. Let's not beat around the bush here. This is frustrating because the people who took John Carpenter's story, whoever these guys were, when they went ahead and created this script, James, it was laid out in front of you. It's all laid out in front of you. This car, the technology. Someone wants to steal this technology, and and Quint is hired to steal it back. I mean, it's just laid out. It's there. I'm watching the movie, and I can think of 10 different directions it could go, and it doesn't go in any of those directions. There's so many good directions this movie's set up to go into, and any one of those directions would have created a much better film than the one that ended up on the screen.
And like you brought up earlier, when John Carpenter was quoted to say, this is a story of my car is stolen and I'm going to get it back. However, the car is not the focal point of the movie.
The Black Moon, the title of this movie,
Black Moon Rising.
And at no point did this car
It should have
matter.
been called, I'm trying to get this cassette tape.
I hit a cassette tape in a supercar, and now I need to go track it down.
I hope they don't deploy the parachute.
There were so many ways of that this could have gone, and they all would have been better. I don't know how you have all of the pieces in front of you, and you create this abomination of a storyline. It blows my mind that there's people who are paid writers in Hollywood, or at one point were. And I can't chalk it up to anything other than a coke-fueled binge.
And I think this lost identity just came from its a weird origin, and it's just not solid ground to stand on. Like we touched upon earlier, we don't have a budget for this movie. So after talking about it, discussing it, what do you think the budget was for this movie?
I'd plant it in the $6 million range. Similar to Escape from New York. I'm trying to think of reasons it would be higher. They did have a few stunts. I mean, the building jump stunt, getting a prototype supercar. There's a few chase scenes. I'll clock it at 8.5. How about you?
That's very similar to where I was going to put it, because I was looking at movies we've watched. I was looking at Escape from New York, 6 million. The Wraith was 2.7 million. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which came out a year prior, had 10 million. I was thinking it probably made back equal to maybe a bit of a loss. I was going to put it at a $7 million budget.
I think we're landing in the same range, because I don't want to admit that this movie could have made any money. I'm also surprised that a movie made in 1986 didn't have any budget information. Not any leaks, not any reported, not any estimated,
I just think it's kind of like a Battlefield Earth situation. One company entered, one company left the box office ring, because we're only going off of what New World Pictures wants us to know. No one else was involved. No one has any information that they want to share. They just kept it a secret. I don't know. What I do know is what we walked away from this movie. And what we're walking away with is some thoughts, some criticism, but some accolades. Nick, it's time for our mini awards, mini pops, poppies and cornies. What was the best weapon in this movie? Not a lot that are really standoutish.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Obviously, you have the guns. But guns are boring for the best weapon. They're
boring, unless they're very effective.
There's certain guns. Obviously, the shotgun from Romancing the Stone is just it stands alone.
Overpowered.
But for this one, it might be the Black Moon when it killed Ryland. That thing is vicious.
I was thinking the same. Or Packard's car and the garbage truck that picks up the evidence.
As a combo, that's a pretty dirty combo.
But I think we have to go with the Black Moon itself.
Yes.
It did rise to the occasion, and the occasion was being the best weapon of this movie. Now let's hit a low point, Nick. You got any standout pieces of shit?
I do. And I love that you picked the same guy that I had when I was watching this movie. I was watching it, and in my notes that I was writing down, I pegged him the second I saw him. This is my biggest piece of shit in the movie. Don't need to watch the rest of the movie. So at that restaurant scene when they first get to LA.
We didn't even mention this part.
Right. So this is actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is when Quint first sees Nina, because this guy's trying to riz Nina at the bar. And Quint's watching this. And this random guy is trying to talk her up. And at one point, he says to her, his closing line in the flirting is,
"What would you say if I told you that I'd like to take you home and your brains out?"
And she says, no.
I'd say you're in for a long and lonely night.
Well, you can't blame me for trying, huh?
That's
You
not
do
try.
not try. Like,
And
you
then after she walks away, he looks at Quint and says, women are so neurotic. They don't know what they want.
So would you say that this guy is the biggest piece of shit due to his 60 seconds on screen, or would you give it to Ryland for being a pervy carjacking guy?
So I'm going to go back to what we talked about in Smoke Signals, which was the drunk guy.
Drunk driver. Yeah,
Yes.
no, I thought about that too. His
Yeah.
piece of shit to on-screen time ratio.
Yeah,
is
it's a
crazy.
ratio. It's a ratio. So this guy's ratio to make that sort of impression in 60 seconds of an hour and 50-minute film is pretty impressive. So yeah, I'd say his piece of shit.
What do you want to call
ratio.
this guy?
Larry.
Okay, there it is. Set in stone. He's making the bracket for the end of the year. Biggest piece of shit award. A movie that featured the biggest piece of shit from last year, Nick Cassavetes. Now, Nick, let's hit another high point here. Choose your fighter. Who was the best survivalist fighter in this movie?
Gotta be Quint, man. He took a beating. He took a beating.
It's Quint, dog.
He survived a lot.
So Quint came out of a 1v3 victorious twice in this movie. Back against the wall, at a disadvantage, kills two guys with his gun the first time, and then after he kills Ryland with the Black Moon, and then yeets out the window, lands into the skyscraper, he's again ambushed by three more goons, and just whoops their asses, and he can just take a beating.
I think that one was pretty obvious for us.
Plus, he's wearing a leather jacket, so automatically, that's a qualifier.
Comes with the territory. All right, James, do you have an MVP of this movie? It could be an actor or it could be a character.
This one, I mean, the acting was not that great, so it has to be a character for me, and my MVP is going to be Iron John, because he just supplied the information. He had a sick-ass thick mustache, got Quint what he needed to know in order to obtain the cassette tape. Simple as that. How about you?
Honestly, I was going to say it's Tyke. He's just a deaf guy trying to create this world-changing technology. He succeeds, he's happy, and he helped create this hydrogen-powered car. And in the end, he didn't get what he deserved. He didn't deserve to get scooped up and disrespected by being thrown into the back of a garbage truck after being run over and having his legs buckled under him. Tyke, rest in peace, big dog.
Well, speaking of disrespectful and downright dirty, despicable, let's talk about the worst scene in this movie. Do you have a nomination?
I do have a nomination.
Because I do.
My least favorite scene in this movie was when Quint is grappling across the two buildings. So we get to this point, the tower heist, where he's super badass and he has this grapple gun, but he got beat up the night before, so he has no business doing this. And he across these towers, he fires the grapple gun, it hooks. You think he's gonna zip line, you think he's gonna tightrope or shimmy. He struggles for about 5 to 10 minutes as it's like cutting back to him, and he's like, "Ugh, ugh." I thought it was so stupid. I was so turned off at that.
My worst scene is going to feature, I think, our biggest piece of shit. I think it's going to be the Larry scene. It was just so weird and just unnecessary. I was wondering, what is the point of it? Because Larry's trying to pick up Nina in a overtly aggressive, misogynistic way. And Quint is there and Nina is exchanging glances with Quint. And was it supposed to showcase how Quint is a stand-up guy compared to this complete scumbag?
Maybe.
It didn't add anything to the non-existent story. My other nomination was going to be when Ryland was watching the weird porn audition tape. That was another, why is this happening? And is this so that we hate Ryland? I don't get it. It's very expository and it's very cringy at the same time.
Didn't come up at any other point in the movie, which I hate. Which brings me to my best scene, which has the same critiques that I have, which it didn't matter for the story, but I thought was the best scene, which is when Ryland is talking to that Hispanic business partner of his, and this guy gave the best acting performance of the movie.
And it's too bad that he got murdered by Packard
Directly after.
I went for the most memorable scene as the best scene. It's when Tyke gets run over and launched up in the air 30 feet and scooped up by a garbage truck. It was...
I can't get over that scene.
So the Wraith just tickled my funny bone constantly. I was hoping the same for this movie, and it did not deliver in that aspect. However, in this scene, I finally got my cheese ball 80s hilarious scene out of it. So I have to say the best scene is, unfortunately, the Tyke death scene.
That is the most memorable scene, for sure.
And to wrap up this memorable movie, let's hit you with our sarcastic selling points. Nick, I'll go first. This is a Mad Max archetype with a Knight Rider vibe and an escape from New York story set in a corporate Gone in 60 Seconds world.
You expanded on what I had. I had something similar, and I simply just said an escape from New York character in a Fast and Furious world.
I couldn't agree more. I was right there with you.
Final review. Fight.
Let's see what the other guys are saying. We're going to start it off with Rotten Tomatoes. The critics, 47% of the critics thought that this was a pretty good movie.
I am shocked by that number. I am absolutely shocked that the critics would stick this at 47%.
Still rotten.
The people,
still rotten.
Still rotten, but my goodness, the people had it at 25%. This should not be a movie where the critics are above the people.
That's a bucket of popcorn that has been spilt, ladies and gentlemen. It's done.
It's bad.
Moving to Metacritic, the critics score is a 53 out of 100, which is a 5.3 on the popcorn scale.
And the people of Metacritic have not given this a score.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It is blank.
I learned that Metacritic needs at least 4 reviews in order for it to generate. So this doesn't even have 4 fan reviews.
We need to start writing reviews.
And now for our coked out, but not cokeless, and apparently Filipino prequel score from IMDb, a 5.5. Can you say mid any louder than that? 5.5 from our middle ground men at IMDb? I can't.
Their scores baffle me continuously.
Well, Nick, baffle me with a laughable log line, your popcorn points, and your final thoughts, please.
I'd love to. My laughable log line is: a thief is put on an unrealistic timeline to steal a tape that he puts in a car that doesn't matter. For my score, I was trying to go back. I was looking, maybe trying to compare it to some other scores. So I gave Escape from LA a 3.2. I gave Cruel a 4.2. And I gave Jack Frost a 2.9. And this is worse than all of them. This is a 2.4 from me, my friend.
Oh, no.
Maybe a tad bit generous of a 2.4, because I think Tyke might be the only thing holding up this score at this point. You know what? Now that I mention it, I'm going to adjust my score on the fly, because I'm not being fair to other movies that I've judged by saying it didn't give me anything that I wanted. This does not deserve to be in the 2s. I'm adjusting my score to a 1.9. I mean, it doesn't resemble a movie. I'm upset that people slapped John Carpenter's name on this and bastardized the characters. The plot should have gone in 100 different directions, and it went in the worst possible direction, which wasn't a direction at all. The car was lame. The characters were lame. I still don't understand people's motivations. And then the plot holes are so vast. They're plot valleys. They're plot canyons.
Oof.
This movie doesn't
Black
make any
holes.
sense.
Black Moon plot holes.
Black Hole Rising is what we got here. And then the Filipino prequel thing, I think, really pissed me off there at the start. Really kind of got me off on it.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Put me out on the wrong foot. And we're coming off of a pretty high score in Memento last week. We know what makes a good movie, and this did none of it. How about you, buddy?
Okay, my laughable log line for Black Moon Rising, aka the prequel to The Wraith, is a leather jacket burgle man is the highest qualified individual the FBI hires to steal an analog cassette tape from a dollar store corporation, and then he stashes the cassette tape into a Landspeed record prototype car, which gets stolen from a corporate carjacking company, in which he must steal in order to get the incriminating cassette tape to appease the government.
Yeah.
2.7 popcorn points from me. I really wanted to like this movie, and I had high hopes from the poster, from the title, thinking that it was going to be anything close to The Wraith, but it was not. And let me tell you why. So I said it all in my main gripe with this movie. I feel like this was New World Pictures trying to make a hit movie with just a flat out lazy strategy. They just latched on to the John Carpenter name and then ran with it. Their entire meal ticket of this movie was riding on the fact that John Carpenter's name was slapped on the poster. John Carpenter also made this other story idea, which was called the Philadelphia Experiment, and this same production company tried to produce that as a movie in 1984, tried, failed, and they thought, you know what, if it doesn't work one time, we're going to try a second time, damn it. Find me another unproduced John Carpenter story, and we're going to fucking make it. We're going to make it big. They took another John Carpenter story, desperate for something to just put them on the map. But they didn't want to spend any energy on actually making an original movie. Black Moon Rising. It was acquired by the producer Harry Gitz in the 70s. And then I have no idea where it went from Harry Gitz to Roger Corman's New World Pictures when he acquired the rights, because Gitz is nowhere to be found in the credits. So he bought this movie from Carpenter in the 70s. No, couldn't tell you what the hell happened after that. John Carpenter is credited as an executive producer on this movie, and his name would be billed on the film's poster, but he had zero, nothing to do with Black Moon Rising during the production process.
Question for you. Did he have to sign off on this? Carpenter? Did he say, yeah, you can totally...
No, he did, because Carpenter got a paycheck and he did not interfere at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
So New World Pictures wanted to... This is all my speculation. I have no idea if this is how it went down, but just based on the limited information that is provided on the internet, this is the case I'm building. So New World Pictures, I imagine, wanted to put out one of Carpenter's unproduced stories. And my speculation on it is that they wanted to capitalize on the name alone, because at this point, his reputation was Halloween, 1978, The Fog, 1980, Escape from New York, 1981, The Thing, 1982, Christine, 1983. So Carpenter never really made a name for himself until 1978 when he came out with Halloween. So when he sells a script in 1975 and they see what this guy's become, they're thinking, oh, we're sitting on a gold mine. But the finished product just tells you otherwise. With that being the game plan, it just seemed like the actual creative process of this movie was to copy other popular properties of the time, such as Mad Max, Knight Rider, Terminator, even John Carpenter's auteur movies of Escape from New York. Like a simple character, a simple plot, him against the government, except the problem was, by the end of Escape from New York, it was anti-government and sticking it to the man. But this movie, Quint, just does the job for the government, even though they put a hard deadline on him. He has multiple enemies going against him. He is just a cog in the machine, and he has to carry out this government project, and he delivers it to the government. There's zero story. There's no three-dimensional characters. There's no depth. It's as flat as the Black Moon car prototype itself. And with that, this is a 2.7, aka an empty bag. from Just Play It. The popcorn machine is out of order.
Honestly, I hope it's laziness, because if these sons of bitches actually tried on this script in this story development, I'd be more upset.
I was really excited for this movie, but it just disappointed me, which is a classic Just Play It trope. And that's what we're here for. And that's what you're here for.
Nothing like getting disappointed.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're not following us on the socials, please follow us at Just Play It Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. Please follow us on X at Just Play It Pod. And please join us next week when we are going to be celebrating our Star Wars week.
It's just one movie. Just a singular movie.
Which is a perfect hint, and you won't know what we're watching until you tune in next week. Thank you so much. We're heading gone. And remember, if you are hired by the FBI and you have 72 hours to get a job done for them, don't forget to be a Snake Plissken and dick them over at the end, because that would be way cooler. Don't be a Quint, be a snake. The brass and that ass.
He's loving it, dude.